Okay, I'll do the intro. Hi, welcome back to me talking about my version of the Marauders in podcast form with Emma. It's the season finale, so we are also doing a live stream today. I don't know if anybody's here, and it's too far away for us to really read the chat, so we'll just kind of be checking in with the chat every now and again. Today, since my phone is doing the live stream, Emma has the questions, so Emma gets to pick the questions.
Well, one is just a college update. So
yeah.
I feel like you got some
stuff.
stuff.
I know where I'm going, and I had a bunch of stuff this week with roommates and stuff, because I wasn't supposed to have a roommate because of my current condition, but then the college was like, we have quiet hours in our dorms, so, like, you're good. And I was like, that's really, I just feel bad for whoever's going to be rooming with
Jazz
me.
is watching.
Jazz is watching! Hi! Yeah, so I'm going to have a roommate, which I just feel bad for the roommate. And then, other update is, somebody was asking me, like, what our major's in. I think I've talked about, I'm going into music education. And then you.
Stay updated.
Are you not doing ASL anymore?
Well, they don't really have that.
They don't have it, like,
I am taking an ASL class, though.
Okay, but they don't have, like, a specific major. Okay, yeah. But you're interested in that, which people would like to know.
I got to sign up for my classes.
Yay.
So that was really nice, and then I'm only on the wait list for one class.
Let's go.
And it's a statistics class, so I'm like, if I don't get off the wait list, that wouldn't be too bad.
Oh no, what are you gonna do? No, mine is, I'm not on any wait list right now, because I did my classes pretty early, but I, am planning on getting out of my English class, because if I get above a 3 on the AP test, then I'm out of that English class. So I would really like to do that, and then I don't know what I'm gonna replace it with, so still thinking about, because it has to be one other academic class, in order to work with my major, but yeah, those are the vibes. And okay, any other questions?
Well, I was told that the snilch story is ready.
Oh, it's ready? Did Jasmine say the snilch is ready? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I am glad to know that the snilch fanfiction is ready. That is a weight off of my back. That means in between these seasons, we know what we're gonna do here. We're gonna have a Snilch fanfic reading sesh on the YouTube channel, so subscribe to that. Snuffles, you're gonna get kicked out. I'm so sorry, but I'm so sick of editing these things out, so you're gonna get kicked out of here.
I say I just lock the door and then it's my podcast now. Now I gotta find more questions. Okay, half of you people do not know how to type coherent sentences. Like, I hate to say it, but, like, some of these are not making any sense.
Okay, what are some of the ones that are making sense?
Will we ever see Jeffrey again? Yes. He was actually in the Forbidden Forest episode. You just didn't notice him.
Yeah.
He was there. He was the one who got all the centaurs who were chill about it. He was like, hey, help my homies out.
Yeah! I like this. These additions to my story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Are you ready to jump in? Okay.
I don't know what happens. I didn't even know it was the finale until I was here, and you said it.
I've been saying that every episode leading up to this.
I didn't know.
And you're like, man, nobody told me.
No one told me.
Yay, let's jive on in. That's the one for today. We're gonna jive on into this. I'm very excited about this episode. I had a good time. Jasmine did help brainstorm some ideas for this episode, which is a fun time. But anyway, so it's the end of school. It's like the last day, or not the last day yet, but you know, it's like, there. it's right close to there. They all know that they're gonna leave soon. And so we all know what that means. It's prank time!
Oh, yeah.
It's prank time! Okay, so the boys are like, okay, it's time for a prank, and so they have a big meeting after, like, the vast majority of the exams are over, with everyone. So it's, by everyone, I mean Marlene, Dorcas, Bonnie, Lily, Mary, and the boys. And they're all in the boys' dorm, just piled in.
There's sand everywhere.
And the boys are like, let's go. So anyway, the vibes that I wrote, the vibes are that it's crowded and also ideas are flying. So turning the silverware into various amphibians was an idea that was passed around. It was tabled for another day. We will get to that at some point.
Good.
That's one that Jasmine suggested. I was like, yes, but not a finale thing. But they highly considered bringing various animals into the castle, including nifflers, but like there wasn't a full idea there, so it never happened. But then our Queen Lily is like, okay, here's an idea that's going to pull everything together. She's the one who ends up coming up with this big one. She's like, gift boxes everywhere. Everywhere. With small pranks inside each and every one of them. And she's like, what can we put into a box and just put random boxes all over in wrapped presents just everywhere. And then the ideas begin flooding in. You know, we're talking like the slime that happens at like the Nick Kids Choice Awards, like when they like open something random and all the slime comes. We're talking like that type of stuff. We're going back to like classic like
those little bubble thingies.
Yeah, and like purple skin and like or red and gold skin stuff. Like we're going back to all of their things, or like we're gonna do a recap. It's just gonna be all of the best stuff, or like stink bombs or anything. You know, it's just all of these things, and they're like, okay. But then Mary's like, guys, people are gonna catch on and realize like they just should not open them. You know, like
you gotta
like,
throw in like a couple like.
So here's the thing. So they're like, okay, so we have to make good ones too. And so they're like tons of candy. Sirius is like, I'm gonna steal 1,000 galleons from my family, and we're just gonna put it in one of them. And they're like, yes. So they got cheering charms. They got, you know, extra pairs of like the size changing ice skates that they just have. They're like, let's get rid of those.
They're like, we have like 500 of them.
I know, and they're like, but then it just kind of became like Bertie Blott's every flavor beans, where it's just like, could be good, could be bad, could be completely neutral.
Could be $1,000.
And so they just, yes. So they just like keep on like going through things, and like, they're just like, okay, but we have to figure out how to pull this off as fast as possible, because I think it's like 2 days before they leave. So they got tomorrow and like that's it. So they've got the rest of today, and then they gotta do it tomorrow, and then they leave the next day. And so they're like, okay, we gotta do this. So they're doing stuff really quick. So they just start creating these gift boxes, and like one person will make them, and somebody will just put a random charm on them, and then they just close them, and then they
got the whole assembly line.
Yeah, they really do. But we've got one other thing to wrap up. So like maybe after breakfast or something, I don't know. But the Defense Against the Dark Arts exams were over, and when that happens, like all of Sterling's exams are over right now. But there's still other exams going on. So when that happens, people will just like go and chill with that teacher in that room and just be like, yo, like what's up? Yeah. So a lot of people are doing that with Sterling because, you know, it's their last year and people liked them. And anyway, so the boys plus Lily show up. They're like, we should talk in your office.
They're and like, Sterling's would you like some ice skates?
Literally. But they've got to wrap up this whole thing. They said that they would tell him about the map. They said that they would tell Sterling about the map.
Oh, right.
So they're like, okay, we got to do this. And so they walk in, and they're still like pretending that they like haven't decided to tell Sterling yet. And they're like, all right. And so then James starts it like a legit negotiation. He's like, so how many passages do you know about Sterling? And Sterling's like, well, how many do you know about? And they're like, good question. And James is like, you've got us there. But no, so they like have this big thing, and eventually Sterling is like, okay, I know of one large one and 2 like small like cut through ones that I don't think you guys know about yet. And the boys are like whispering to each other, like, okay, should we do it? Should we tell them about it? And Lily's like sitting in the corner. She's like, they already decided to tell you. But anyway, but Sterling is just vibing. They're just like, yeah, this is great. I love watching this whole thing go down. But eventually Sterling is like, James is like, all right, so we'll show you what we use to locate you with the understanding that you will not report us and you will tell us about those passages. Deal? And Sterling's like, yeah, I'm not your professor, so like, yeah. Deal. Let's go for it. And so James pulls out the map and like puts it on the table, and they all just look at it, and Sterling's like, oh, this is a piece of paper. I don't know what you want. And James is like, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. And then it opens up, and Sterling is like, what the heck is this? And so, Sterling, they just ask so many questions, and the boys are like, yeah, well, let's tell you about this. And they're like so proud of it and like just going through everything. And Lily's just sitting there like, I don't even know why I came. I'm just another person who knows about the map, so like I just gotta be here, I guess. But yeah, and so then Sterling is like, okay, well, how do you like keep track of everyone? And James is like, well, that was all Lily. And Lily was like, I did one part of this. And they're all like, okay, so it was Lily did the whole thing. And they like make her explain it. And she's like really kind of embarrassed. She's like, I didn't really do this. I just put a thing on the steps of the entrance to the castle. And like, yeah. But yeah, Sterling is like, okay, this is insane. They're like, literally, this would legitimately be like so useful in a place like the Ministry of Magic building. But it would also be an insane invasion of privacy in the workplace, so, like, I don't know. But the boys are just like, oh, dang, you're so right. We never thought about, like, that this could actually be useful. We were just like, oh, this makes pranks, kind of fun. But, yeah, Sterling's like, yeah, I'm not going to tell anybody. But they tell them about where the passages are. One of the smaller ones they already did know about, and they're like, this was a scam. Why did we tell you about this? We already knew about this.
We took it all back.
Yeah. But then there was this one huge passageway that connected, like, two other ones. Like, it was a passage within a passage type of thing. And that one led out right behind a statue in the Great Hall. And the boys are like, there was one into the Great Hall this whole time? And Sterling's like, well, yeah. But James is like, how do we not find this? Like, we literally looked all over the Great Hall. And Sterling's like, well, you can only exit from that place. Like, you have to get into it from other secret passageways, and then you can only exit through there. And so they're like, okay. But yeah, and there's, like, a code word and everything. And the boys are like, how did you figure this out? And Sterling's like, I don't know. I had an older sibling that found it, and I don't know how, like, they're like, I was not a sneaky person, but I do know about that one. But yeah, so, they're all chatting, laughing, having a good time. And then Peter's like, yo, Sterling, what are you doing next year? And Sterling's like, so about that. And they're like, okay, so keep this on the DL. But, like, at the moment, there's rumors that Death Eaters are expanding rapidly, and
they're like, I'm joining.
The Death Eaters, no! They're joining the other side of the war. This was meant to be a serious conversation, Emma. Anyway, but no, they're like, I'm joining the Order of the Phoenix, Dumbledore's army, their side. I don't know if the boys had ever, when I was writing this, I was like, do the boys know that it's called the Order of the Phoenix? Like, probably not at that point. Mm-hmm. So, like, they got, yeah, so anyway, they're like, dang, that's crazy. And so Sterling kind of explains this whole thing, and they're like, yeah, I'm joining the war. And they're like, well, that's kind of terrifying, not really the fun vibe that we were hoping you would have, but, but yeah, eventually the boys are like, okay, we got this whole thing to be doing, and they're like, we gotta go, Sterling. And Sterling's like, I'm excited for your prank. And they're like, I hope it's good. All right, so now the pressure's on, because they're like, Sterling's waiting, So they've started making the presents. As we said, it's like a whole freaking thing. Mary's like, I feel like we should make, like, a roughly equal amount of, like, each thing and, like, categorize them. But they only have one day to pull this off, so I feel like they're all just, like, randomly doing things. They also sectioned off, like, different parts of the castle. They're like, okay, like how they're gonna get them out, and then they put them in those, bags with, like, the extendable charms and stuff in them, so they're all just, like, throwing them into these things, and they're just, like, so much. Like, they're just Santa at this point, honestly, with so many presents. And they're just putting presents into the bags at random. Like, they have no idea where the good things are going and where the bad things are going, except for they all knew which bag was going to the Slytherins, and that's all I'll say about the matter. Like, going approximately to the Slytherins, like, end of the castle. But anyway, they're all just having a blast. Peter is put, like, all of his papers that, like, receive the worst grades into one of them, and he's like, not mine anymore. Marlene and James are just filling several of them with sand. just like never ending sand, so when you open it, it just
They
pours
keep spilling out.
And Lily's like, you guys gotta stop. But they managed to get like 20 in before she noticed. But yeah, they're just putting the absolute most random things in one. Marlene probably put her raven into one. Just like
He's
so
just
many.
chilling.
So many weird things. They're like, hey, how about my one singular sock? And they're like, that's a good idea. Let's do that. But like they go to the kitchen, they get different food that they like, and they're like, now you got a box full of cupcakes. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, they're just talking. They're just like having like this whole room at this point is just like insanity, but it is a solid good time. But yeah, but then Mary's like, yo, did Sterling tell you why they're leaving? They won't really mention it to, like, when I was there. And they're like, oh, yeah, we kind of do know why, but, like, it was kind of on the down low, but, like, you guys are probably fine. We'll tell you. But yeah, so James is like, yeah, they said that they're, like, joining the war with Dumbledore. And Mary's like, dang, that's intense. And the others are like, yeah, that's pretty crazy, you know?
It's like just a summer job.
No, but they're all just talking about how they like don't know anybody in the war, and it's like crazy. And then Marlene just like clears her throat, and she's like, yeah, so about that. And she looks at Dorcas, and Dorcas nods, and she's like,
right,
we haven't been sure how to tell you this, but me and Dorcas are joining the Order too. And they're like, this was not what we needed today. And it's kind of not a good time. And they're just like, what? And Dorcas is like, a lot has been happening. My dad has a friend who's in the Order, and they know that something is coming that's big. Like, the Death Eaters are clearly planning something, and they just need as many people as they can get. And we don't really have careers to leave, so next year, that's the plan.
Yeah.
And Lily's like, are you guys, like, gonna be okay? And Marlene's like, yeah, we're gonna be fine. Like, they just need people right now. I don't even know if, like, we're gonna be allowed to be doing much. And Dorcas is like, yeah, we talked to Dumbledore about it, and he was fine. But, like, McGonagall? And James is like, Minnie's involved? And they're like, yeah, she's, like, a main part of this whole thing. She's like, yeah, you know, McGonagall's, like, practically Dumbledore's, like, second in command with the war. But she's like, yeah, anyway, she won't let us join until, like, fall at the earliest. She wants us to, like, finish out us being kids before this whole thing happens. And Marlene's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like she wants us to go straight in. So, like, we'll be fine, but we wanted to let you guys know. But yeah, I don't want to continue talking about this, me personally, because it's sad. This is me talking. I don't want to talk about this because it's sad. But they just have a whole chat about this and like what do you want to
put in the next box?
Yeah, but Marlene does mention that she isn't sure why, but Dumbledore asked her to like really keep it on the down low that she's thinking of joining. Like, especially to adults. She's like, so we knew we were going to tell you. But Dorcas is like, yeah, and I don't really want to make it known that I'm joining the Order either. I feel like maybe that puts a target on my back. But, like, Marlene especially is not supposed to, nobody's supposed to really tell anybody. And so they're like, okay. But yeah, so it's just now known to the boys, Lily and Mary. Bonnie was not here for this conversation because I guess she just wasn't. But
She's
yeah.
off grabbing bags.
Yeah, I don't know, man. She was doing stuff. She comes back in. She's like, "What's up,
too
guys?"
Dedicated to the prank.
She really is. She comes back in. She's like, "Yo, guys," you know, they're all like so sad. And she's like, "I got cupcakes." But yeah. But anyway, Marlene at one point is like, "Okay, let's not stress about this. This is not the vibe. You know, we're gonna stay excited for the day. You know." And so they keep on doing that. And so the day begins. And it begins bright and early, like way too early. Like we're talking like
before James's run.
4 or 5. Oh yeah, before his run. I think he might have skipped his run today, which is kind of crazy. But it's like 4 or 5 a.m., you know? And considering they were all up super late, besides Lily. Lily was smart and she went to sleep because she's like, I don't want to be insane for this, but she still got up early. But they're all just so excited that it mostly doesn't matter, but they're still pretty tired. So they all, like, split off, like, into pairs to, like, help set up everything, like, all going into different parts of the castle with their bags, with their Santa bags. But yeah, so Marlene and Dorcas go in one place, Sirius and Remus go in one place, Bonnie and Mary go in one place, and then it's Lily and James and Peter end up being the last one. And James is like, okay, Peter, you better make this not awkward. But then Peter's like, you guys have something going on, and I don't want to be here. And so he goes and joins Mary and Bonnie. And he's like, yep. And so then James and Lily are together. And James is like, this is great. I love this. This is so fun. But yeah, so they all split off into different places with their own bags, even though they didn't like have an idea of where they were putting like each particular thing. It wasn't like, okay, slime one goes here, because they don't know which ones they are,
in it, and you can't open and check.
Yeah, no, you can't. So they're just like kind of scattering them. And like nobody even knew where Sirius's like 1,000 galleons were. He's like, it's in one of them. They're like, we probably should have kept track of that one.
Some like random first year is gonna get this and be like,
shh, you can't ruin it.
I didn't even know it was the finale. How would I know?
No, but so they put a bunch in like obvious places, like the center of a hallway, you know, but then they also like hide other ones to make it seem like
Easter.
Those are the good ones, you know. But yeah, so they just like are placing them all over it. And they also all have like security charms on them, so nobody can figure out what's inside them.
Unless you
open it. Like no teachers can like go and be like, we're gonna figure this out. Like no, you have to open it, and that's the only way you can know. But Remus and Sirius have been assigned a slightly different job, which involves going to an enclosure near the Forbidden Forest and getting something, which will be discussed later, for their last and biggest present. And so, yeah.
Oh.
What? What do you think it is?
Keep going.
I should have made it Jeffrey. It's not Jeffrey.
That's so disappointing.
I know you were thinking that. Well, Jeffrey's here in spirit, but they didn't force him back into the castle. That would be too traumatic.
It would be kind of fun, though.
Might have been, but I didn't think about it, so we're not going to. But anyway, so they go and grab that thing, and then Lily and James are, like, mostly going through classrooms that still had a good chance of, like, people going into them. Like, maybe there's, like, one more exam and something. And also, they were the ones dropping off all of the ones in professors' doorways. Like, each of them has one. And Lily's like, okay, what if McGonagall gets someone that makes her smell like farts all day? And James is like, if that happens, we're gonna fix it. But, like, other than that, no, she's just gonna have to put up with it. But yeah, he's like, we didn't make anything that's, like, gonna actually hurt anybody. Like, it'll be fine.
James is like, she should know what to expect.
She really should. But they did have an assignment of delivering things to the Ravenclaw common room as well, which was shockingly easy for them to get into. For one, like, the riddle was, like, super easy, and they were like, awesome. And then the Raven's like, hold on, you guys are not Ravenclaws. And they're like, well, listen, it's the last day, and we have these presents. And the Raven's like, go on in, that's so nice of you. Like, just go, that's so fun, and you're so kind for thinking of that. And they're like, yeah.
I imagine that, like, sometimes the Ravenclaws just have, like, a door stopper that they just, like, prop the door open so they don't have to answer riddles all the time.
Yeah, for real. Because that's just annoying. But yeah, so they get in there super easily, and they just, for the common rooms, they just, like, leave a pile in the common room, and they're like, okay, let's dip.
I'm like, yeah.
Like a huge pile, like they dump out, like, a whole bag or something. But Peter, Mary, and Bonnie have, like, a similarly, like, easy time getting stuff everywhere, and they're in charge of the Hufflepuff common room, which for sure doesn't even have a password. Like, it's just a door.
You just gotta know where it is.
Yeah, and so you just, like, walk in, but then they definitely got distracted because, like, I feel like in the Hufflepuff common room, there's just, like, bowls of chocolate and candy all over the place, and they're, like, infinite, and so they just keep on going. So they definitely stayed in there way too long. So the Hufflepuffs ended up getting a lot of gifts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Marlene and Dorcas didn't manage to get stuff into the Slytherin common room, so instead the door opened inward for them, and so they just stacked all of the presents all the way up, and so when they would open it, they would all fall in on them, and they're like, this is good. So yeah, but they all did their best to, like, get a gift in, like, every hallway, like, on every table, like, everywhere that they could. They were just everywhere. They probably made thousands and thousands of these gifts.
Yeah.
But they were having a good time. But time is running out. So they all ran to their last destination, which was the Great Hall. Where Sirius and Remus had put the 7-foot large gift box in the dead center of the room, in between like the Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw tables. And James was like, yes. And he's like, okay, now have you done the chimer charm? And Sirius is like, no, like you're better at it. And so he does it, and he sets the charm, and Lily like conjures like a sand timer to be like right above it. Sand? No, but just like a timer to be to hang above it. And it's supposed to be, like, right as dinner starts. And they're like, okay, so they set it for then. James was having a good time. So then they dumped all of the remaining gifts at the door of the Great Hall and then dipped. And they went back to their own common rooms to, like, be like, what? We're waking up at the same time as everyone. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah.
Because that'll really trick some people.
Yeah, nobody's gonna know that it was them. That would be crazy bonkers time. But yeah. So, that's the vibe. So the boys go back to their room together, and they're all talking about, like, how much faster that went now that they, like, they have a huge group to do that with. Yeah. They're like, we never would have been able to pull that out if it was just the 4 of us. Like, and then, like, that would have been insane. And James is like, literally, why did we do things like that, like, on our own? And Remus is like, we were stubborn, awful people. And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But Remus couldn't stop gritting. And James is like, what is it? He was like, well, I mean, we were really terrible, like, especially you guys. And, like, remember last year?
You guys.
He's like, remember?
Like,
no, he was like, remember last year when I was like low-key gonna leave this friend group because you guys were just so mean? But, like, look at us now. Like, we killed it.
We made friends. Good job, guys.
Like, you did it. No, but yeah. But James is like, honestly, like, thank goodness you did that, because, like, seriously, none of us ever would have been friends with Lily. And Sirius is like, and you never would have, like, dated anybody. And James is like, I don't think that's true. He's like, no, it's a correlation for sure. But yeah, anyway, so they have some good banter. But then at some point, Peter is like, we're so mature now. Kingsley might actually want to be friends with us. And James is like, Kingsley! And they're like, what? And so they make him a present that has a cake inside of it that they've decorated. And it says, we'd love to have you back next year. With, like, hearts and smiley faces. And they go and they sneak it up and they put it, like, right at the foot of his bed. And that's Kingsley's present. But yeah. So, the day happens. So this is the day before everybody leaves. So it's, like, the day of the big feast and everything like that. It's a good time. So they go downstairs pretty quick as soon as they hear a bunch of commotion start. And they're like, all right. It said in the books that Fred and George made, like, the fireworks that were indoor that, like, lasted a super long time. But I think they still used to have indoor fireworks. They just, like, were super basic, Yeah. So anyway, so they had those in some of the boxes, and those are the ones that happen to be in the Gryffindor common room. And so there's just, like, mild explosions happening, and they're like, okay. So they have those, but they only last for, like, 5 minutes. So they come down and everybody immediately bombards them and is like, okay, like, what did you do? And they're like, I don't know, this could have been anyone. Anybody could have done this. And they're like, we literally know it's you. And they're like,
one kid's like, I just got hit by, like, 50 pounds of sand. Like, I think it's you guys.
No, but one kid does say, this one says, with love from James on it. And James is like, I don't know, that could have been anybody. But yeah, so things are going great. But yeah, so there's just chaos everywhere. They had, like, spaced them out, but it was still just, like, everywhere. Eventually, McGonagall's voice was heard everyone around the castle, like, from some magic thing. So anyway, and she's just like, nobody open any more presents, I swear. We don't know what's in them. This is entirely dangerous. Just stop it. And then, of course, everybody opens even more. And also, right as she's saying that, Sirius just yells loudly, I hear there's 1,000 galleons in one of them. And everyone's like, oh my gosh. So all the Gryffindors, like, start opening through their entire pile before breakfast, which was, like, a lot to go through before breakfast, but they definitely did it. But yeah, there was slime, there was spiders, there was a pile of real human hair that they're not sure who put it in there. What? It's probably Marlene, but, like, they're just not sure.
I love her.
They had cheering charms in front of them, and butterbeer, like, you name it, they had it. And then Kingsley comes downstairs, like, last, and the boys, like, line up, and they're like, how'd you feel about your cake? He's like, tough luck, I already talked to the 5th years about moving into theirs next year. And they're like, you're telling me you would rather live with kids a year younger than you than with us? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be quieter and probably more clean. And Lily's like, that's true, you made a good choice.
He's like, Marlene's moving out, like, that was my room, man.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, it was so funny. But yeah, the boys are, like, pretending to be heartbroken. And they're like, Kingsley, how could you? You left us again. This is the 7th year in a row. But yeah, so anyway, they go down into the Great Hall, and there's just so much chaos of what is in the big one. They're all like, what is it? And everybody's tried, but it's not opening. And James is like, I guess we just gotta wait until that big timer goes off, guys. and some kid was like, when will that be? He's like, I don't know. Looks like it might run out around dinner time. But yeah. But it's a good time. But Sirius managed to kind of slip away from the group a little bit. And Remus immediately is like, where's my boyfriend going? And follows him. But he finds Sirius by the Slytherin table, placing a green package in front of a particular spot. It was Regulus's spot.
Wow, really? I couldn't have guessed.
I know. Well, could have been Snape's, but anyway. But Sirius, begins to walk back, and he's just grinning right at Remus, and Remus is like, what did you do? And he's like, you'll see. So they walk back to the Gryffindor table together, and then Regulus arrives at his chair, and he doesn't even sit down. He just looks at it, and then he looks up, and he meets eyes with Sirius, and Sirius is like, what's good? What's up? So Regulus just, like, looks down, and he's just so annoyed. And so he's one of his friends, probably, like, Barty, is like, what is it? And he's like, it's something for my brother. Barty's like, don't open it. He's like, he would have thought that through. It's probably going to explode in about 2 seconds. And then Barty's like, okay, I'll open it. And he's like, no, you're not dealing with it. Like, this is some crap for me, and I got to do it. So he opens it, and Remus is holding his breath, and Barty's, like, holding out his mom. And then nothing happens. And Regulus looks around, and he's confused. And Remus frowns, and he's like, what was it supposed to be? And Sirius is like, just wait for it. And then somebody across the room who's by Regulus is like, Regulus, what do you have on the back of your sweater? And Regulus is like, not this again. And it's, do you remember from last year when he had I love my big bro on his Quidditch thing? Yeah, he just did that again. And he's like, somebody, and Regulus just immediately knew, and yeah, then somebody reads it. I hurt my big bro again. It really, and just Regulus, like, almost laughs, like, you can see it. You can see in his face.
That's what it sounds like. Though.
Yeah, but yeah, so he just, like, almost laughs, and then is just immediately stone-faced again. And Sirius is like, gives him a heart from across the street, or from across the street. Across the Great Hall. He's like, yay! So anyway, Sirius, like, gives him a little heart back, and James, who's, like, noticed it at this point, is like, okay, I respect the callback, but he's just gonna, like, change, And Sirius is like, yeah, that's why I stole all of his robes and packed them in my trunk. He won't be able to get them until he gets home. And they're like, what the heck? But yeah, then they look across the room, and Regulus just pulls off his sweater, and then he's like, yeah, that's not gonna work either. And it's on the shirt underneath it, too. But yeah, and then James just starts cracking up, and he's like, okay, he's honestly taking this pretty well. Like, he must literally hate you. And Sirius is like, yeah, not too much, though. And Remus is like, that's not what you would have said a while ago. Kind of wondering what that means, but he doesn't have to wait for too long. I'm gonna warn you, this is a little bit on the more... I can't even say on the more serious side. This is the issue. Anyway, we're gonna shift moods a little bit, and it's gonna be okay, and it'll be fine. I just have to remind them. Because they don't always know. But anyway, so the day was very long and loud, though, and so at some point Remus is like, I never packed anything. He's like, I should probably go pack, and also it is loud, and just everything is happening, so I'm just gonna go pack. So he goes and packs. And of course, Sirius is like, okay, where did my boyfriend go? And so he leaves and goes and finds him, and he's like, yo, is everything all right? And Remus is like, yeah, I just need to pack. But Remus is just in, like, a really good mood, and Sirius is like, okay, well, what's going on? He's like, okay, listen, I know we said, like, no anniversary stuff, because, we've basically always been together, but, like, it's been a year now. Isn't that crazy? It's, like, a whole year. Like, officially, and Sirius is like, oh my gosh, please don't tell me you got me something, like, adorable, because I actually didn't get you anything, because when you said no anniversary, I said no anniversary. But yeah. But Remus is like, no, I'm just remembering everything, and it's just fun, and, like, just thinking through everything. And Sirius is like, yeah, remember how shook you were when I kissed you for the first time? And Remus is like, okay, that's not how we got together. You can't just pretend that that's how it happened. And Sirius is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I kissed you first, and then we got together. That's how it happened. And Remus is like, no, this is not what happened, and we're gonna talk it. So anyway, they have, like, a fake fight, and it's all cute, and they probably end up, like, kissing or whatever. And then Sirius is like, okay, fine, like, maybe you were the one who got us together, but maybe not. I don't know. I have a like, messed up memory, But then Remus is like, okay, maybe we should have a first anniversary thing, like, during the summer, like, still, and Sirius just, like, does not say anything and kind of looks upset. And Remus is like, or not. Sorry about that. That's fine too. Like, don't even worry about it. And Sirius is like, no, I want to. It's just, and just trails off. And Remus is like, okay, what is happening this summer? You've been so weird about making plans. It's the freaking Quidditch World Cup in August, and you, like, don't even seem excited. And Sirius is like, Remus, I'm so sorry, but and Remus is like, you're not breaking up with me. And Sirius is like, what? No, I'm not. I'm like, not. Like, why would you even say that? He's like, no, that was a statement. You are not breaking up with me, so why are you so upset right now? I don't understand it. And Sirius is just like, I'm sorry. I don't think I'm gonna see you at all this summer. And Remus is like, oh, and he says, not just you, anyone, James, Peter, no one. And he's like, you're not going to see James this summer. And he said, I'm going to stay at Grimmauld Place the whole time. So, okay. Remus doesn't say anything for a while. Sirius had never, in all the time at Hogwarts, stayed, like, at home for an entire summer. And they had discussed, like, earlier in the year, like, Sirius was probably leaving for good this summer and, like, moving out officially. Mm-hmm. But now he's, like, staying there the whole time, and he doesn't look happy about it. But he couldn't be being forced to, because every time his parents, like, have tried to, like, the Potters just show up. And so he always knows that he's going to end up at the Potters at some point. And so if he's going to stay there the whole summer, he's, like, choosing to stay. And Remus is like, okay, why would you do that? Like, not accusatory, just, like, what is happening here? And that just, Sirius is just... the fact that he was not accusatory with that statement was just really nice. And he was like, I'm staying for Regulus, something is up with him. We had a talk, like, a week or so ago, and he asked if he could move in with me after Hogwarts or, like, visit me or something. It was weird. And so, like, a part of him doesn't feel safe there, but he still doesn't want to leave, and I would just take him to the Potters with me, but he's never gonna do that. He's never gonna stay there. He's still, like, hates Muggle supporters, I think. And I don't think he would ever stay with them. But if I can stay with him, maybe I can show him that, like, I'll be there for him even if I hate it. It might help him see that our parents are not the people he thinks they are. But he's like, but I don't even know what he thinks my parents are. This whole thing is just so weird. And Remus still just doesn't know what to say. And Sirius is like, he wants a relationship with me. Like, I didn't know that before. And Remus is like, he told you that? And he was like, yeah. And then, Remus was kind of starting to understand. And he's like, and Remus is like, okay, how are you even going to manage this? And Sirius is like, okay, that's the hard part. I think I'm gonna have to be what my parents want me to be. And Remus is like, a Death Eater? And he's like, no!
This is a little awkward.
He's like, no, not that far, but like a
First
kid...
Professor Sterling and now
Oh my gosh. But he's like, but a kid who like listens to them and who doesn't like break any of their rules. And Remus is like, and who doesn't write to blood traders or half-breeds during the summer. And Sirius is like, it's one summer. If I can pull it off for one summer, and then I can easily fake it through the next school year just by writing a couple letters here and there. Regulus has already apparently been covering for me while I'm at school, so like, what the heck? And then I'll be of age, and then Regulus can have a place to go after school that isn't absolutely insane, and our parents wouldn't mind him going there because they think that, like, I'm kind of like them, and, like, I got over my rebellious stage, and, like, it's whatever.
Okay.
And so Remus is still just, like, kind of at a loss for words, and he's like, listen, it's not that and Sirius is like, listen, it's not that I don't want to talk to you, it's that I don't want him to be stuck there forever if he decides to leave. You know, he doesn't have anybody outside of that circle besides me. And Remus is like, no, I get it. I really do. I mean, if Emma Lane was in a bad situation, I would do anything to get her out. Like, anything. And, like, I get it. If me not talking to you for 3 months means that you can, like, have your brother, like, that's fine. Like, I don't care. But what you're saying you're gonna do is so dangerous. Like, what the heck? He's like, your parents have hurt you before, and it feels really wrong for me to be like, yeah, that's fine. I don't think that's fine. And Sirius is like, okay, like, I'll be fine. I promise. Like, I've already talked with Mr. and Mrs. Potter about this whole thing. Like, as soon, like, that first day after talking with Regulus. And we have an escape plan, both for me and Regulus, if needed. He's like, my parents have patterns, and if I'm doing what they like, then there shouldn't be any reason for anything to happen, you know? Like, they should be thrilled. And Remus is just like, okay. But no. But yeah, Sirius is like, I'll be fine, and if I'm not fine, I'll just leave. But I think I really need to give this a try. And so Remus just looks at him for a while and then just gives him the biggest, tightest hug ever. And he's like, okay, fine, do it. We'll figure it out. And he hoped it was for the best. And I'm so sorry about that scene.
Dang.
I'm so sorry. Do we need a little break? Or should we just jump right back into fun times? Like, I don't know what to do.
Jazz says you're a nerd, so she's not your biggest fan. Although we did take AP Calculus together, Jazz.
Yeah.
So I think we are the ones who qualify as nerd material.
Yeah, I don't...
You bring them... You're moving to the moon, and you can only bring one person. Do you bring me or a marauder?
Oh, shoot! Probably Remus, just to see how he would react on the moon, you know?
Oh, no. I think that was just the cruelest answer possible, man. Like...
Well, like, I gotta see, you know? We're getting back to fun times, though. Fun times. Fun times with fun rhymes. So it's getting close to dinner, and so Remus is like, okay, Sirius, when are you, like, gonna tell the others this? And Sirius is like, later in the night. It's, like, after dinner. I was gonna tell you then, so that your day, like, wouldn't be ruined. But Remus was like, no, like, I'm glad you told me now. And he's like, and anyway, we have to be there when our big plan goes off. And Remus is like, and the feast. And he's like, oh yeah, can't forget about the feast. So they go down to the Great Hall just to have some good, solid fun. A good, solid, good time. Knowing it would be like probably the last time that Sirius would be having a good time until they came back to Hogwarts. But it was great. It was wonderful. So everybody arrived to the feast like well on time because they're like, something's in that box, man. Something is going on. And they all think it's gonna be like fireworks or something really cool. And it's just not. Or Jeffrey. A lot of people are like, dude, it's Jeffrey. It's not Jeffrey either. I'm so sorry. But Lily's like, we probably should have made like something good in there and like not what we did. And Remus is like, I don't know what you mean. They're adorable. It's gonna be fine. And so there was all this commotion, and then there was a huge commotion in the corner of the room. because Snape had refused to open a box that had been placed on his seat at the table, and the Hufflepuff first year went over and opened it, and it was the 1,000 Galleons. And the gang are just losing because they had no idea. They had just put a random one on Snape's thing, so and it was the one with 1,000 galleons, and he didn't open it. And it was the best thing they possibly could have asked for, because of course they put a spell on it where, like, the person who opened it automatically keeps all the money, you know? And so, like, this cute little first year is like, no way! And Snape is like, you're joking me. The one time I could have, like, taken advantage of a prank for my own good, this happens. It was just perfect. Cherry on top of everything. And they are just laughing so hard. Yeah, that Hufflepuff's having a good time. That Hufflepuff is like, man, this is what I needed. Yeah. But yeah, so finally everybody sits down to eat, and Dumbledore stands up, and he's like, so I'm sure we're all wondering what's in that box. Not gonna lie, I am too, but here's my plan. Why don't we just start eating? And they're all like, yeah, that sounds good. But yeah, and then the feast appeared. And it takes a solid 30 seconds before anything else happens. So people are like, okay, it's gonna happen after dinner. It's gonna be fine. So they just start eating. Except for the gang, because they know that they planned it for, like, the start of the feast. And so they look up, and the top of the box just disappears, just pops open. And nothing happens for a second. And then a Niffler head pops out. And
that poor Hufflepuff.
Yeah, they told him to get his stuff out of that room real fast. But, yeah, it only took about 2 minutes for the nearly 100 Nifflers that they had put in that huge box to just scatter and get everything in the Great Hall.
That's like all of the plates.
All of the silverware, all of the plates were gone. And it was just a whole big thing. And so it was so chaotic that the staff were like, let's just get out of here. And they moved all of the tables just out of the Great Hall and onto the lawn, like by the Black Lake. They're like, this is where we're having the feast now. And it's just, yeah, it was just absolutely insane. But, like, honestly, like, first and second years were having a good time. They were like, this is so funny. And it was just absolutely wild. Like, it wasn't even that bad, because they're like, they have, like, I don't know, Hagrid's probably there. They have teachers who, like, know how to deal with Nifflers. It's not going to be the end of the world. But it was just so much chaos because it was 100 Nifflers in the Great Hall.
100 of, like, any animal.
Yeah, it was just a lot happening, and they're all just, like, stealing random things. So anyway, so they keep all the Nifflers in the Great Hall, and they all just leave and take everything with them. But the only issue was that they really didn't have any silverware, and so they just kind of ate with their hands for the rest of the time. They're like, okay. But yeah, so that was kind of the big finale, and they're like, this is nice. But yeah, so they end up being, like, outside, and it's, like, beautiful, and they, like, have all of the candles out there too, and it's, like, reflected in the Black Lake, and it's just so pretty. And it was just a good time, and so, like, nobody was even really upset, and it was pretty great. Yeah, so, and then eventually, like, afterwards, because everybody's just been, like, uprooted from stuff, I think Hufflepuffs won the House Cup that year. I think they just had a good time. And it was close with Gryffindor, of course, but, like, whatever. And so they definitely just, like, have a party out there because they're like, yo, we're outside, things are crazy. And it's just a solid, great time. And the last gifts were rounded up, and they all were like, you four, you have to open them. And of course, they were all bad ones. They were all the ones where, like, stuff gets thrown in their face or something. James is just really sad he didn't get one with sand in it because he was really hoping for that. But Peter did end up getting his own bad grades back.
Oh my god.
He was like, what the heck? He was like, I literally just tried to get rid of these, and it's just my own papers again. But yeah, but then eventually James starts turning things into sand randomly, and it's just a good, solid party rocker in the house tonight moment, you know? But yeah, and so then we kind of have our last little moment of the season. So at some point, McGonagall has to be like, okay, you guys, like, have to go to bed. Like, the train is coming in the morning. I don't want everybody to be late. Like,
She's like, Lily, you specifically.
no, but
Lily
yeah.
has had her issues.
I know, she has, but the excitement kind of counterbalances that. Because Lily does not grow up. She ends up being the last one who had the invisibility cloak when they were, like, hiding things. And so she just kind of put it on and just stayed by the lake and was, like, just watching as the teachers, like, clean up everything because it's just so pretty out there. And they're talking about how, like, at least nothing got on fire this time. And they're honestly, like, they're like, okay, the boys, like, actually, you know, kind of seem to be caring about, like, the consequences of their actions, like, at least a little bit. Because that was not as crazy as things usually are, but it was still a crazy good time. But yeah, and Pomfrey and Minnie are, like, gossiping about the Marauders and, like, reminiscing. And Lily's like, okay, so they do like them. They vibe with them. Okay. But yeah, and it's just nice. And so when everything is, like, finally cleaned up, she, like, still just stayed there. She, like, sits against a tree, like, looking out over the lake, and it's just so pretty. Hogwarts is great at night. And so she just sat there for, like, almost an hour, just thinking about life, just vibing, and wishing that she didn't have to leave. And then she hears footsteps behind her, and she turns around, and James is holding the map, and he's, like, clearly, like, been looking for her. And so she takes off the cloak, and James looks a little wacky and wild, not gonna lie. And he's like, hey. And she's like, hey. And he's like, are you okay? Have you just, like, been sitting out here for, like, an hour? And she's like, yeah, it's pretty. And he's like, okay, can I sit here? And she's like, sure, I don't care. And so he sits beside her, and they're both just, like, looking over the Black Lake. And then after a second, she's like, are you all right? You don't look too good. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And he's like, no, I'm not. Sirius just told us that he's planning on staying with his parents the entire summer, and I don't really like that idea of, you know, that whole thing happening. And he kind of explains everything that Sirius had said, and he's like, and I just needed to just clear my head, and I saw you out here, so just came out here. And he's like, anyway, why are you out here? Just sitting here. You had something traumatic happen, maybe? And she was like, oh, no. She's like, I had the best year of my life this year. And James was like, you did? And she's like, yeah. Like, I don't think I've ever, like, really not wanted to leave Hogwarts, but I don't want to leave this year. Like, at all. Like, I love my parents and everything, and I'm usually just so excited to go back to them, but it was such a good year, and, like, I had such a good time, and it was all because of you. And James was like, oh, dang, okay. And she's like, yeah, my summer's gonna be, like, completely boring now, though, because of you. And he's like, what? And she's like, well, you got me used to, like, all of this constant excitement and everything, and then I'm just gonna be sitting in my room, I'm not allowed to use magic, and I'm gonna be, like, alone most of the time with nobody but my completely horrible sister and her boyfriend, Vernon. And he's like, that sounds like the worst name I've ever heard in my life. She's like, it is. Imagine naming your child Vernon. Like, what the heck? And so they're just, you know, kind of thinking about that. And James is like, you can make your summers fun. I mean, like, we found out you can, like, plan and execute almost any idea. Like, you saw what happened today. Like, you came up with that. She's like, I didn't come up with everything. He's like, you came up with the main idea, though. But she's like, no, but I really can't just, like, come up with ideas like you do. Like, my most exciting summer plans are going to be me reading a book I haven't read before, and it's going to be like, whoa, this is crazy, because I'm not reading a book that I've already read. She's like, she's like, I'm not, like, good at that. Like, I feel like I have to be around you guys, or else nothing interesting ends up happening. And she's like, I feel like I'm going to be, when I come back next year, I'm going to be as boring as, like, 5th year me was, because I'll just have a boring summer. And he's like, okay then, so I have some official advice for your summer. And she's like, what's that? He's like, okay, so think of an idea, and then think if it's something that 5th year Lily would do. And if it is, don't do it. Keep on going. Think harder. And she's like, and she just laughs, and he's like, I'm not joking, you know, it works. That's how the pranks are formed. You think of something super simple, and then you make it less simple. And she's like, if by less simple, you mean, like, absolutely bonkers insane? He's like, yeah. And James is like, well, listen, I never would have become friends with you if I hadn't decided to be a little bit absolutely insane, because I did not like you after last year. Like, that was not a good time. And Lily just was like, oh, haha, and then suddenly... she just reaches out and, like, grabs his hand and holds his hand and is like, I'm really gonna miss you, James. And she doesn't even know what she's doing. Like, in her mind, she's like, what's going on right now? But he had just talked about doing stuff that's absolutely crazy. And she's like, well, I guess I'm going to hold his hand now. But James, he's sitting here, and his brain was just, I imagine, just like red alert. She's holding my hand is like the only thing that's going through. But he's just like, yeah, I'll miss you too. And then they're like leaning in, like maybe, and James is like, what? And he's like, okay, I'm not sure. And then he's just like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna kiss her, and we're gonna give up this whole like just being friends thing, and we're destined to be together. We have matching freaking Patronuses. It's gonna be great. And then they hear a voice that's like, oh, there you guys are, and it's serious. And it's serious, and he just knows it's Sirius's voice, and then Lily pulls away, and they look, and it's Sirius, Marlene, Mary, Bonnie, everybody. It's the whole gang, and they're all just showing up, and they're like, yo, there they are. And so, like, as I said, Lily pulled away, but James is still, like, holding onto her hand, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna see you next summer, though. I'm gonna see you this summer, though, right? And she's like, yeah, of course. So then he lets go of her hand, and then they just pretend that nothing happened at all, and it's great. And James turned around, and he's like, okay, Sirius, what's up? He's like, what are you guys doing here? And Sirius is like, listen, if you think I'm gonna spend my last night of freedom in our room being sad, you're completely wrong. Like, we're here, and Marlene found one of the boats that the first years used to cross the lake.
Marlene just has one of them. She didn't find it. She's been waiting for this.
She kept it since
from her first year.
Yeah, she just stole it. But yeah, so he's like, so I say we go swimming, clothes and all. And then as he gets near, he's like, actually, I suggested we go skinny dipping, but Remus said no, so now we're gonna go swimming. And James is like, all right, let's do it now. And he's like, and Sirius is like, okay, hold on a second. I just dragged this whole boat over here, and I'm gonna take off my sweater first. And James just shoves him in. And also, you know, I think people think of lakes as like being a little sloped in. Not this lake. It is a straight down. You jump in, it is 10 feet deep, and that's just it. So, you know, because that's how the giant squid gets so close to the sides, I think. But anyway, so he just shoves him in, and Sirius is all mad, but then everybody just starts jumping in, and it's a good time. But Marlene is like, I'm taking this boat to the center and then jumping in. So she's like rowing and like doing this whole thing. But yeah, so everything's just loud. Everybody's just having a good time. And then James reaches out his hand to Lily and says, jump with me? And she looks at him, and she's like, I don't know what to think at this moment. They'd almost just kissed for the second time, I'll remind you. And she's like, what does this even mean? But he was waiting, so she took his hand, and together they jumped. And that's the end of the season! Yeah! Let's go! Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was good. I liked that one.
Uh-huh.
I'm still upset it wasn't Jeffrey in the box.
Okay. Oh, and I was gonna say, at the end there, and you know what, we're not done, because Jeffrey had to be there while they're all jumping in and having a good time.
He was actually in the boat with Marlene.
He honestly should have been. Or watching Lily and James almost kiss. He's just like, you zoom out, he's just in the background with the scarf billowing.
There's no other wind, like the trees aren't moving at all, but it's
it's just, I think his scarf is always billowing.
It's enchanted.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, no, I should have made it Jeffrey, but I feel like the Jeffrey callback has to be in 7th year, like the official one. It has to be the last thing that they do. But yeah, it was a good time. I liked doing this episode. I really thought it was going to be longer. See, I'm just really bad at writing episodes, I think. Anyway, should we bring the live stream over here? Have a little Q&A sesh. The Jilly cliffhanger, though. Yeah. That happens. I can't even decide. I know that's going to happen a lot, and I'm really sorry about that, but I don't even know how many times it's going to happen, so I don't know what to tell you. Like, I really don't. Because it could happen 4 more times, or that could be it, and then the next time it happens, they could kiss. I don't know. But yeah, when is next season?
That's a question for you, I feel like. Oh, I am, like, just...
Are you going on vacation?
We're kind of both moving. Yeah. That's kind of awkward.
That's the issue. That is the issue. So we're going to record as much as we possibly can. The issue is we're going to... we're both moving across the country to go to school, but we are
It's in the same state.
It's in the same state. So, but we're still like an hour and 40 minutes away when we're in college. So we're going to get through. We might end up going to recording like twice a week, which I don't even know how we'd manage, because I still don't know how I managed to do that earlier. But
if you can write them,
that's the issue.
Sometimes show up.
Yeah, and then we'll have guests, because I'm just gonna have to get through stuff. So whoever's available is gonna be here. Yeah. Sorry about that, Emma, but it's just gonna be the vibes. I'm only going on vacation for 1 week this summer. Do you know about your vacations?
We still haven't really planned it. Which is why I said I would just work through June.
Your family is just a wild ride.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving for school in mid-August. What about you?
Okay. I'm leaving, like, kind of, like, late-ish August, like, 20-ish.
Okay. And then, you know, it's a possibility. I'm still trying to figure out stuff, but I might use, I might give you a mic, and then we just record things in separate places, but the only thing I'm worried about is having good audio quality. I don't care if
That's true.
We've clearly never had good video quality anyway, so that's really not going to be an issue. But, you know, so that we could record in separate places. And then, I mean, also, you know, if we want to drive up and do an episode every now and again, not going to be too big of an issue.
I have family that lives, like, right where...
Yeah, right by where I'm going to be. So we'll figure it out. I don't know if finishing up the next season might be an issue. I don't know if we'll have seasons after that, but we will for sure have one more season. Definitely. We will get through their Hogwarts time. Mm-hmm. And I have everything else planned out after that. It just might not end up being like an official podcast thing after. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we'll finish stuff up, but it'll be interesting. We'll see how it works. Hey gang, this is me editing the video, and I did in fact realize that we did not answer the question of when season 3 is going to start, and that's because the answer is right away, like as soon as I can write something. I might take like 3 days off, but probably not. So it's going to be soon. But yeah, the second half of it, like once we get up through August, don't know how that's going to happen, as we were discussing, but for right now, we're going to record as much as we can before we leave for school. And that's the vibe. Just doing Zoom calls, but like...
Yeah.
I know, and then the other thing is we're both going to have... Say, your roommate is chill.
Yeah.
Your roommate's fine. Your roommate will probably be a guest on the podcast very soon. I don't...
Do you know yours?
I thought I was going to have a private room, and now I'm not. So I don't even know my roommate, so it could be a little awkward. Just me being like... Hey guys, what's up? I have a podcast, and her being like, what if I don't want that, you know? So we'll figure it out. But yeah, I feel like we've rambled.
We do
I don't know.
A lot.
We do that a lot. I have started cutting out a lot of our rambling. But yeah, should I finish it out? Should I finish out the season? Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. All right, thank you so much for watching and listening. It has been a great time. Thank you so much for putting up with all my health issues this season. Like, seriously, the fact that when I would go back and, like, post something, I would still have people listening, and, like, I have more people listening now than I've ever is just bonkers. I didn't expect for that to happen. I get tagged in things sometimes that are, you know, people being like, oh my gosh, you should check out her podcast. And it's crazy. It makes me feel so great. So yeah, it's been really great. Hopefully we'll be more consistent as we were finishing up this season. But yeah, shout out to the Metamorphomatus and Benji Wilson for for cover art and for music. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye! Woo! Yay! We did it!
Wow.
Yeah, and then he gets the raven.
Oh yes, that's why she made the announcement.
Yeah, she was like, I just got a whole raven. I don't know what's up with that.
She was like, Marlene.
Not again.